Hi, you guys. I think there's a clue, which maybe I hinted to in a previous one of this season, that Tamra and Katie are friends right now as we speak after the reunion. Hint, hint. Anyway, if you haven't looked at the time codes for this one, it's a long one. Lots of tea in this. You're going to love it. You'll want to use the time codes. Come back, get your questions answered. You'll see how I did the time codes. I think you'll really appreciate it. Jump around, review, nice and easy. Loads of receipts, just the way you guys love it. Let's go. Let's get on this. Real Housewives of Orange County. Let's go. Hi, you guys. So let's start Real Housewives of Orange County season 19, episode 9 with this little tea that dropped. Tamra Judge is actively trying to get Vicki Gunvalson back on the show, it would appear, even though they had a fight. She posted this on her page. Would you bring Vicki back for season 20? And Tamra said, yes, she's the OG and deserves that season 20. Now, Vicki Gunvalson said the reason she quit in the past was that they only offered her a part-time role on the show, so she said no. And then after a while, she regretted that decision, and I think she was like, I would take anything to be back on the show because I have lost a big part of my life by not being on it. So I think she would be willing to do a friend of position, or a full-time housewife, whatever they wanted at this point. And also, to be fair, she's made some free cameos over the years to kind of show her support to Alex Baskin and Andy Cohen. So the reason Teddy and Tamra believe that Tamra had a falling out with Vicki was because that she was jealous of the friendship that Tamra had with Teddy. And also, Vicki doesn't like Teddy, so that rubbed her the wrong way that, Tamra was going to become so close with someone she didn't like. In addition to that, Tamra feels that because she came so hard for Shannon Beador in season 18, calling her a drunk and calling out her DUI and running into a building and really kind of maximizing the destruction of Shannon Beador's public DUI, that Vicki thought she wasn't a really good friend to Shannon. And since they had done the Tres Amigos show and gone on, tour together and been so tight, the three of them, the fact that Tamra chose to come for Shannon kind of said, she doesn't really care at all about her friends. She's just going to go for whoever's going to get the ratings for the show. And so Vicki didn't like that. She felt like, there is a line, and Tamra crossed it with Shannon Beador, and Vicki's close to Shannon off the show. We know this because when Shannon was hurt from her car wreck and other things she's gone through, Vicki has let her stay at her house for weeks. So it's a real friendship. And Tamra just kind of threw, I guess, Vicki and Shannon a little bit under the bus in the way that she treated them. Now, to be fair, Tamra's beef with Shannon goes way back and cuts deep, because when Tamra got fired from the show, Shannon turned her back on Tamra to say, like, you have no worth now that you're not on the show anymore. And that made Tamra feel like she didn't have a real friendship with her either. And if you remember, Tamra Judge suddenly quit the Tres Amigos show that they were doing live, where they were making a lot of money together. And she suddenly quit when Shannon got the DUI, because she said Shannon was drinking behind the scenes at the shows and it made her uncomfortable. And then she put all of her resources into the Teddy Mellencamp channel, which, made her money, and she kind of turned her back on those women. Plus, she started doing stuff with Emily Simpson instead of bringing, say, Vicki or Shannon into her channel, which pissed Vicki and Shannon off too. So there's a lot more to this. Needless to say, Tamra and Vicki have been texting a little bit over the last month, mainly because Tamra's been nice to Vicki, and at this point, I think she just wants to connect with Tamra again, because Tamra's got a lot of power in the OC space at the moment. Okay, so let's talk about some of the receipts that dropped yet again this week to do with episode 9, which we're going to recap later in the show. There are receipts throughout this entire show, all the way to the end. So I'm annoyed still about this, because Kiki called a writer in confidence to say, do you think this is real, what I'm being told by Katie? And that writer then told Dave Quinn from, that Diamond book or whatever that Bravo sponsored. And he's been on a bunch of Bravo shows. And he's also the editor of People to Do with Reality TV, I guess. And he's really good friends with Bronwyn, who was with Tamra Judge right before, we've seen her picture on the show in New Orleans with Teddy Mellencamp right before all this kind of shit hits the fan in New Orleans. Yes. I feel like that isn't a coincidence. Anyway, Dave Quinn reaches out to Tamra, concerned about what's going to come out on the show, and then Tamra decides to, take this up with Gretchen. Gretchen denies it, and, Katie then runs with it and tries to out the story. I think she's, probably collabing a little bit with Tamra behind the scenes at this point. It might also interest you that Dave's book, the Diamond book or whatever, that book party in Los Angeles is where Kiki is introduced to Katie. Now, in all of this, you guys, I'm not losing the bouncing ball here, which is that Tamra Judge shouldn't on reality TV be trying to get her cast member so drunk and wasted that she's sick, and also gets naked and does awful things on the show, right? It's weird and kind of off. And Vicki Gunvalson got dragged into all of this because she was a part of that night and a part of that plan. And it doesn't surprise me at all that she's trying to promote her to come back for season 20, because doesn't it make sense in that context? Also, another thing that bothers me is, why did Katie choose Kiki? Well, Kiki would definitely sign the release form so they could cover this on the show, whereas another blogger might not. And so that also struck me as interesting. And we know that Tamra doesn't like Kiki and has said she wanted to get her fired a long time ago. So it also felt a little planned, all of that. Now, it may also surprise you that Jennifer Pedranti is closer to Gretchen than Katie, but I've got news for you. She was. So, of course, her allegiance would be to Gretchen over Katie. That's really important to note. And the first time that Katie ever met Gretchen was at Mastro's, the night that all this shit was allegedly said. And I doubt highly Gretchen said it to Katie. If she said it to Jennifer Pedranti, which means Katie took a conversation that she overheard and said it on the show. Devil's always in the detail. Simultaneously, Gina Kirschenheiter surprised the fans by saying she probably wouldn't come back next season if Katie Ginella did. Let me play you the clip.
Behavior. If you behave a certain way and then you want to pretend like you're a victim because you're suffering consequences of your actions, that's not ever going to fly with me. I don't like anyone to get hated on. I do think that all of some the trolls and the hate is excessive, really totally. Whoa, it's just a reality show. Yeah. We're just a group of ladies in Orange County,
Jennifer Pedranti had a breakdown, by the way,
but,
you guys.
When you mess up, you got to pay the piper.
There's rumors that she's not going to come back next season.
Well, I don't make those decisions,
There was a little sparkle in your eye right when I said that. I was like, oh, okay.
I will say that I haven't seen her, in a very long time. And I have no plans to see her. And I will say that, honestly, I'm sort of to the point where, obviously that's above my pay grade. But, if she was to be a part of this group next year, I would seriously question whether I wanted to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. It's you have to make your decisions for you and your, well-being, your health, your happiness. I can only control what I can control, but I can always control my decisions and who I want to be around, and at the end of the day, we all have a choice. So that's how much I me, I can't just sit there for months and pretend all right, I gave her so many tries.
Now, before we get ahead of ourselves and start hating on Gina, because I know that's where you guys are going next, I want to play you something, because this may explain why Gina did not feel comfortable shooting with Katie after this season.
When you agreed to film, did the producers tell you you are filming with Gretchen and Gina? Because I'm assuming you would have, thought or would have been positioned, wanted to, I'm not clear, film with Katie since the information came from her. So how did that come about?
I believe they wanted me to film with just Gretchen. And what I said to them, and don't even know but whatever, I'm going to say it because people may not understand. I was only supposed to film with Gretchen, and I said, look, there were 3 people at this dinner. Gretchen and Katie were 2 of them. I don't know how comfortable I feel only filming with Gretchen because this is someone who was also part of the story. I would feel more comfortable if someone else was there. And this is okay. And this is where, and again, this may be the messy part, but this was the only way I thought I could clear my name. I said, I have a piece of information also from that lunch that nobody else would know and would prove that this information was told to me. I would rather her be there, and I'd rather tell her there in that moment what was said. Because honestly, I feel like if I say it to her face, I'll know also if there's any truth to that story. And so I was really the one that pushed for Gina to be there.
Got it.
So, of course, Kiki's talking about the fact that Katie said that she thought Gina had microaggression in her comment about the fact that Katie Ginella doesn't wear Asian designers. Now, there was a lot more going on around this. Let me show you something. So the fans attacked Jennifer Pedranti, and Jennifer Pedranti said, I can't believe you're going to believe this racist crap. And then the fans got upset about her using the word racist crap, like belittling racist as an issue. But I think what she was trying to say is it wasn't true. However, it came off wrong. Anyway, Jennifer then writes this, and this is where the meltdown, you can tell, is happening for her. Listen, you should all send a message to Katie and let her know what a racist, lying, shitty friend I am. She has DMs. It's at Katie_ or Katie.Ginella. You think I heard the comment and just cover for Gretchen? Fine. You think I'm a racist? Disgusting. Please unfollow me. Tell Bravo to fire me. You have one long, running, thirsty housewife that will love all your comments. I'm sure her new best friend wouldn't mind hearing it either. Running a race PR campaign, who does that? So she's saying that she thinks Katie is running a race PR campaign. And she's also talking about Tamra as the new best friend. And of course, that would rub Jennifer Pedranti wrong, knowing what we've watched over the last few seasons. But look what she says. Ask Bravo to fire me. That's a meltdown, guys. That's a meltdown. Now, I'm sure no one is struggling to believe that Slade reached out to Matt. Obviously, Slade reached out to Matt, but the question is why? And we're not really clear on that, although Matt did do a podcast and talked a little bit about it. I'll play you that in a second, but listen to what Vicki says about Slade's past behavior with Morocco.
His website, I forget his name at the moment. He's a paid actor, and I think this whole thing was set up. I don't think there was any truth to this lie detector test. I think that when you go back and research, he's lied about the truth. I'm disgusted by it. I love the fact that Matt spoke to Chef Stewart, I think his name is, and just said, no, this is what happened. Yeah, Slade called Matt, and Slade's a caller. I mean, we were in the Berkshires. He called a lot to the producers and wanted to manufacture and help Gretchen out. He didn't get signed up. Gretchen did. So I just find it really weird that Slade is calling Matt after their time at Mastro's to discuss that.
So if he was calling her, like, who are you to call the network and call
her,
demands now, you know?
Asking her what she was wearing, asking her what drama there was, calling Clark, our producer, trying to figure out what was going on there. I mean, we were just 6 or 8 girls just having fun. We were not filming the Housewives of Orange County, so it wasn't like, let's go hurt somebody and kill somebody and figure out a way to hurt them. That's not what that Berkshire trip was about. Not Berkshires, it was Morocco. But Morocco, it was something. Slade did that. He was calling all the time.
So of course I'm going to help you guys by doing a deep dive on the lie detector thing over the next minute or so, and then you can make up your mind based on real facts if it was a real lie detector or not from watching the scene. And yes, there are clues. Now, Gretchen Rossi, I said to my patrons and Dishing Drama Dana on Tuesday, I think learned how to have the results, if it wasn't fixed, work for her, because there's very specific things you can do to kind of, outsmart the machine, if you will. Okay. And that's if there wasn't already a setup, because it's possible that Gretchen and some of the other participants wouldn't have done the lie detector test if they didn't think there was some quote unquote plan. And yes, I've heard you guys mention that Emily says something about a plan on the episode, etc. So I did hear those comments. Let me play you something to show right off the bat that Gretchen lies on the lie detector test, and then we'll get into other facts I think you might find fascinating.
You've taken a lie detector test before?
No. Take you into the next room and introduce you to our polygraph expert, John Grogan. He will hook you up to a polygraph machine. I want to introduce you to John Grogan, a polygraph expert.
Slade wants to know, do you trust me to be the leader in our relationship?
Yes.
Are you resentful that Slade is not actively working on his career?
Yes.
I mean, I did the next day. I was to the hospital. I was so sick.
Hospital after naked, wasted.
I said no. That was truthful.
You've lost your credibility with everybody here.
Yeah, Katie, maybe you should go.
I'll go.
You should go.
Okay.
You did say that to me, though.
You should have addressed it and not gone to the press.
Let's talk about the website that these guys were hired from for Emily's event by the producers. This is the first thing you see on the beginning of it, but just bear with me because I'm going to explain how this all works to you in a minute. Not actors, meaning the people that are doing the lie detector tests. Our nationwide group is actual working examiners who have their own equipment and can travel and can either operate the equipment for you on or off camera or can set up for your use with assistance, and for some can do simple acting. Okay, simple acting. All right, let's now look at accuracy levels. So there's different types of equipment for different types of lie detecting testing. And also, you have to behave a certain way to have an accuracy to a lie detector. All right. So the producers go on here and they say, what level of accuracy do I want to come out of this particular lie detector test? This is the fun part, you guys. So here we go. Accuracy levels. The 4 levels of accuracy available that the client chooses, meaning the producers, from the lie detector filming. For the highest level of accuracy, 1 to the least, 4. Call to discuss these choices. If you don't choose one, or if the instructions are not followed, the testing likely becomes a level 3. Your examiner can give you best advice for your project. Turns out accuracy 1 is the least common, and this is full, high, and real. Okay, remember what it said. It said you really end up at accuracy 3, which is not that real, if you're not following these very stringent rules. What are the rules? Well, you can't move during the filming, during the test. You can only do a maximum of 4 questions, and also you cannot be dehydrated. If you're dehydrated, it could give false results. Now, before we move on to accuracy 3, which is where you end up as a reality show if you don't follow certain rules, let's talk about what we saw. We saw Katie Ginella not really moving too much, so that would follow accuracy 1. We saw her getting only 4 questions, I think, because we didn't see any others. I thought they might have done up to 7 because didn't they ask every woman to write one? But I guess they just chose 3 or 4. So that would be accuracy 1, which is real. The only thing we don't know is, was she dehydrated? If she was dehydrated from vomiting or whatever, then could be a false result. Let me show you what accuracy 3 is if she was dehydrated. It kind of falls into this category. Just so you know, I'm not bullshitting you about the dehydration. If person is dehydrated, accuracy will greatly suffer. No dehydration, drink plenty of water. If we encounter dehydration, we accept the great reduction in accuracy and continue the testing with this deficiency. Accuracy level 3, simulated known results scripted. Common on social media for when big movement or silliness is involved, so an accurate choice cannot be used for fun or entertainment. No reality. Not reality. Simulated with equipment as an interesting film prop. No real accuracy. Cannot be used to deceive unless for a prank video where the prank is revealed at end. Usually for comedy or in-your-face video. No restrictions. The only choice that says big movement and laughing and fun theatrics is fine. Examiner as your actor follows the direction of script issued. Use for fun tests. Brings most laughs. All 4 accuracy choices. I have a feeling that's the last time we're going to see lie detectors used on Bravo. So now you can debate with some real facts on whether or not the lie detector test was real by watching how the women went about doing it. Did they move a lot? Did they get only a few questions, like 3 or 4? Are they drinking water in the scene before? Then we'll know. This is what Matt had to say. His perspective dropped on a podcast this week.
Whatever, season 2.
Like
okay.
And fresh kind of breath of fresh air in there. People loved it.
The reunion, I literally have only seen very brief clips of the reunion. I had to go pick her up physically. I had to rush up there. I mean, I had to go get her from that reunion. Yeah. Talk about, that was one of the craziest, days, times in our life, the idea that took place, that was actually something that was okay on any level. Going back and dragging up this, by the way, in my mind,
painful past.
My mind, and as Katie has said, I'm happy to talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Sure. Let's talk about my experience and what I've been through. And maybe it can be relatable to other women out there in which they can actually learn and understand what it's like to be in a dysfunctional and abusive marriage and how you can try to get out of it in a better way. Maybe she had to try to get out of it because of a lack of support from her family and some of the other things that were going on, and the manipulation of what is an abusive partner. That, like, for some reason, that all has been thrown out, and it's somehow this is a Katie.
It was like
this
fodder,
is a woman.
You know what I mean? It was like, I'm going to get her, and I'm going to fucking talk about it.
Let's go all the way back to that.
Yeah.
Gina, let's talk, going back to you saying, oh, did Gina bring in, okay, Gina brought her into the group. Okay. And the idea, look, I've worked in media for 30 years. I was a photo editor at Sports Illustrated. I was a director of photography at Golf Day. Before Katie even knew she was going to be on the show, there was this story that came out, Heather and Terry, paparazzi, Disneyland, and it was all over in social media. And literally, Katie sent a note to our mutual friend, Katie and my mutual friend, who runs paparazzi in Southern California, who essentially disseminates the photographers to do what they need to do to get the shots that ultimately end up all over the place. And the simple question was, did Heather call the pops? Yes. Okay, so all goes back to Gina actually thought that this would be funny, that this would be a good way of Katie coming into the group with something that gives her some entry point into sort of this catty BS that happens generally between all of these women. But for a newbie to come in and poke holes in the perception bubble that Heather Dubrow has created for herself, and this idea that how dare you. Like, how dare you? And from that point, she still hasn't stopped talking about it. To this day, it's still a part of this lie detector, as though this is something that's still lingering and it festering in her. This is a thorn in the big paw of Heather Dubrow, and she can't stop talking about it, which goes to, first of all, I don't see a lot of paparazzi photos of Heather and Terry Dubrow ever. I certainly don't see a lot of paparazzi photos of anybody at Disneyland, let alone the Dubrows, who for some reason, there's some sort of paparazzi that's going to pay the money to get to park and to wander around Disneyland with the camera and randomly stumble upon Heather and Terry Dubrow in the midst of some sort of online rumors about their marriage. Just happens to catch them canoodling in a way that is so obviously set up. So
Matt's been doing his husband homework. Don't think Katie's not coming back next season. Think this is a pretty good indicator she is, guys. Were you surprised that it was Gina who was coaching Katie on coming for Heather Dubrow in the whole paparazzi Disney thing, which was so obvious? Did that surprise you? Make sure you comment. Now, Katie went on the Vile Files, and there wasn't a lot of juice in that interview, but there were a few takes I thought I'd share today. Let me play them for you.
Get right into
it.
Do
you want to start with like how you got on the show?
I would say that I don't really want to discuss Kiki. I think there's been enough discussion. I think that it's giving her more time, the time that she asked for.
Okay. So you didn't talk to her?
I did. We did have lunch.
Okay.
We first met in LA. I was at a Bravo Diamonds and Roses or something party. And she was there. And I went up and I said, oh my gosh, I've been following you for a long time. I love your true crime and your pop culture. Think you're amazing. She then followed me on social media and I DM'd her like, honored. This is so cool, right? Being that my husband and I have been in media, especially my husband over 20 years, it's not weird to know a quote unquote journalist, someone in the media. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Like she seemed like a cool girl and I loved supporting her. And then she messaged me that she and a friend were coming down to Orange County for lunch and asked me and Jen to lunch. Jen was somewhere. I was out doing errands and I said, sure, I can pop by for a little bit. And we had lunch.
I wonder if Kiki asked Katie about her time on Say Yes to the Dress.
Do you regret having that lunch with Kiki?
I do. I do regret having lunch with Kiki. I think I idolized her a little bit. I loved supporting a woman in this social media, pop culture, Bravo, reality TV space, and also a woman of color. And I loved that. And I think that when we sat down and she said, everything is off the record, everything is off the record, she didn't hold true to that. And I did not tell her the thing that you're going to ask me if I told her. But we discussed a lot of things that lunch, mostly how I felt about being a housewife in my first season.
So you think she's lying?
I think that we have different interpretations of the truth.
I was about to say, do you feel like it's more of like a miscommunication where it's like you, and correct me if I'm wrong, said she went to the hospital and Kiki took that as like, well, you only go to the hospital if like something's wrong. So like.
I did not bring up Gretchen.
So this is where she loses me every time, you guys. I just don't see a world where Kiki makes this up, calls a writer, and another writer calls Dave Quinn. And Dave Quinn then calls Tamra concerned, and Kiki makes the whole thing up. Working for Radio Andy and Sirius XM, knowing her job would be destroyed over that. This is where Katie really loses danawilkey.
Oh.
So there was no reason for me to bring up Gretchen. This was early fall. That we had that lunch, and Gretchen didn't even let Jen or I know. Well, I can't speak for Jen, but Gretchen didn't let me know she was even coming back until like the middle to end of December. So I'm not sure why I would have even brought Gretchen's name up. Gretchen was a very new friend.
Right.
We had a triple date, which I'm sure you guys have heard about now.
Mastros?
Yes. And yes.
Matt's here, everyone. By the way, being
Matt
very
is here.
supportive
He's going to nod.
He has duct tape over his mouth currently.
I know. And
just as good looking in person.
He is.
Better.
Very, honestly.
Better.
Very handsome.
And that was the first dinner I'd ever had with Gretchen and Slade. So they were very new friends. So I'm not sure why I would have even brought Gretchen up. We were literally discussing me.
So the context of Gretchen telling this awful story about Tamra Judge allegedly roofing her and her going to the hospital and all this stuff at Mastro's when they're out to dinner. First time Katie meets her, she's already tight with Jennifer Pedranti. She's probably telling Jennifer this based on what Katie says. Katie says that she believes the motive for Gretchen doing this was to convince Jennifer Pedranti to dislike Tamra Judge even more than she already was, like to maybe make sure she wasn't going to fall back into Tamra Judge's arms this season. And so Gretchen, being close to Jennifer Pedranti and probably confiding in her quite a bit, says like, you shouldn't like her because I haven't even told you the worst thing. Here's what happened. This is Katie, allegedly, is at the table. Okay. And then Tamra goes on the show and she says that it's Katie who at this dinner hears all this and passes it on to Kiki, and Kiki passes on the writer and to Dave Quinn, People Magazine, this and that. And Tamra, oddly, chooses to out on the show that she's potentially like a Diddy. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like she's a Diddy to Gretchen. She's going to drug her. Lord knows what's going to happen after that, right? I don't know. Why would you drug somebody? So I think what really happened is Tamra Judge was afraid that if Katie outed these rumors that number one, she would be really attacked by the fans. But number two, she could get fired over an allegation like that she tried to drug somebody back in the day, even though they promoted and glorified it. Gross, bravo. But, she could, I suppose, get fired over that, Tamra. So she comes out and, basically tries to out it as a lie. Then I guess Gretchen has really no reason to be embarrassed about this coming out unless she lied about it totally to discredit Tamra. But again, I find that difficult to believe because she would have done it a long time ago. Would have gotten a lot of press, that kind of an allegation, whether she's on the show or not. And then, why is Katie getting blamed for trying to verify something that potentially could put her cast member in danger if Tamara really is that kind of a loose cannon that she was capable, 17 years ago of drugging somebody? That's, like you would go to NBC HR at that point and you'd be like, why do you have me on with a person who tried to drug somebody on the show? And there's rumors that she did, and the cast members are talking about it, and I'm worried. I'm really worried. I don't want to shoot with this whack job. So where is that part of this is what I'm missing. Like, remember what we're talking about here. So, I mean, the only thing I can think of is this was a totally manufactured storyline by the producers, and that's pretty sick if true. Now, I want you guys to know that I've had some people share some information with me. And what I've noticed about Katie's behavior is when people reach out to her about Bravo, she has a tendency to loop in other housewives and say, hey, do you know this person? Is this person your friend? They said this. Is it true? This and that. Okay. Actually, quite ignorantly, frankly. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. If someone reaches out and says, I'm friend of so-and-so and wants to give you some tea, in our world, you leave it at that. You take the tea, you decide for yourself, you do it all in the DL, and you certainly don't reach out starting to check people's references, okay? Because you're going to stir up trouble by doing that. With the housewives that you're reaching out to say, hey, do you know Joe? And, this person said they were legit and this and that. And we know that Katie had a relationship already with Gretchen, although not close, through Jennifer Pedranti, because Jennifer was asking Gretchen for advice. And Katie loves to call herself a newbie, so I'm sure she would love Gretchen's advice too, wouldn't she? Something's not adding up here is my point.
And I guess it just, did you think that it would ever turn into what it has turned into?
I know. I was saying earlier that Jen and I talked on the phone at the beginning of the season before we started filming. We're like, we think this is going to happen and this is going to happen in this story. None of that happened. It was so far from what we thought would be.
What were your expectations of being a housewife versus what the reality has been for you when you first, signed the dotted line, so to speak?
I honestly thought I was going to become friends with them. Not necessarily all of them, but, a good amount of them. And we would fight about petty things about, like, I saw your dress at Neiman Marcus. And then we would get over it because that's what I have watched. It has become a little bit more dark, I think. And I also was okay with talking about the custody of my kids and my ex-husband and that tumultuous divorce, meeting Matt and all of those things, because I think a lot of women do go through that. I just didn't foresee it being used as a weapon against me, that it was like, you're a bad person because of X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so Dana's lie detector is going off for Katie right now. Why? Because she said she watches Beverly Hills in New Jersey and that usually they're fighting over dresses. I don't know what the hell show she's watching, but not the same show as I am.
Season seemingly closest to Jen. Has it been hard watching her not take accountability for what she knew about the dinner with Gretchen, and where do you guys stand today?
It is really hurtful because the reason you saw me go, Jen, like, come on, is because she was there and she could have backed me up.
Yeah.
And given me some accountability with these ladies. And that hurt. I left that Persian New Year party gutted. I was seriously depressed for days. I laid in bed and cried. And then thereafter, weeks after, anytime anyone would mention her name, I would just burst out in tears. And so it hurts because I loved her. I invested so much time in her. Our kids became friends. We hung out with our significant others together. She came to my house all the time. So it didn't feel great. No. And as of now, we do not speak.
She used what's going on with you to kind of get in with them because she was on the outs with everybody last season.
I don't know if it's that, but I feel like she saw me going down, and she didn't want to go down with me.
Right.
Here's where she realizes she pushed Jennifer Pedranti too far and backtracks on her racism allegations against Jen.
Jen posted it, but it was Gretchen in the video that I felt was being inappropriate.
Now, from the end of this last episode, when you're leaving, are you essentially being put on pause at this moment?
I think you'll have to wait and see what happens.
Wait and see. Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to start Real Housewives of Orange County Season 19, Episode 9 recap. But would you believe there's more receipts in this damn video? God, they're just left and right because that made up a lot of tonight's show. So we open up the show and Jen and Katie have decided to have coffee together so that Jen could say why she didn't stick up for Katie and Katie could bring receipts to say to Jen, I don't know, like try to convince her that the lie detector test was wrong, but wasn't Jen at the dinner? That's what's weird. It's almost like they're treating Jen like a character that wasn't at the actual dinner where this was all said. And also remember, Katie Ginella said that the reason that Gretchen told the story to such depth that she had a toxicology report, she said, that came back that she had been drugged was to get Jennifer Pedranti to turn harder on Tamra Judge. Although in tonight's episode, she changes that and she says that she thinks Jen is lying because the hatred she has for Tamra outweighs the truth. Katie can't, get that story straight, unfortunately, which you're going to hear me argue, I'm sure, with Kim about this on our live tomorrow at 1 p.m. I hope you join us on Friday, September 5th. You can also watch the recording afterwards. But I'm not buying what she's selling, but I want to read your comments. And then we see a lunch with Katie and Jen is like, I just don't believe Katie because I was at that dinner and I didn't hear what she's saying was said. We also hear about testosterone pill injections, the implants. I got it. I had an allergic reaction and I broke out in hives. I don't recommend it. So then Heather, Tamra, and Jennifer get together post Katie. She shares the receipts Katie shared with the group. Nobody's buying what she's selling. Heather's like, my husband is a TV star, but he's also a real doctor. So just because the lie detector people, are for entertainment purposes, she doesn't go into detail, of course. She's like, it could be real. It probably is real. And, I gave you guys the receipts earlier so you can see how you feel about it. So then Tamra and Jennifer make up. Both are very hesitant. Tamra's like really anxious to kind of befriend Jennifer. Jennifer, not so much. You can't really blame Jennifer for the way Tamra's come for her. And so we see that kind of emerging. Now, we know from my, Jennifer's meltdown earlier in this video that obviously this relationship with Tamra doesn't last. So the next scene is Matt Ginella sticking up for Katie with Katie. Matt doesn't get into what he's heard again from Slade and Gretchen, which bothers me. Like, if he's sticking up so much for Katie, but I'm waiting for the magic words of like, she said she went to the hospital and she said that she got a toxicology report and it said she was drugged. I haven't heard that in any interview that Matt did. I didn't hear it on the show, even though we spoke about it twice. It's like kind of elusive, which means to me that there's a little bit of truth in this story, but not 100%. And I don't know what that truth is. Like I said, I kind of feel like this drama has been somewhat manufactured by production. I'm going to play you that video again of where we hear Gretchen on camera saying that she went to the hospital in front of Shannon and Tamara, because I want you to hear that you really can't hear what she's saying. I'm not going to show you the text. I'll show you it after. So here's receipts that Matt pulls up to prove his point of what he's saying. First, he says, I had a 45-minute call with Slade. And obviously, what was I talking about with him? Well, we don't see on here how long his phone calls are. So this receipt doesn't show that. We also see a bunch of references to my spicy Asian, which I guess is Katie. And we see that she is calling him a lot, actually more than Slade. And she's calling him, in some cases, back to back, all on March 9th. And Slade is trickled in between them. Like, it would appear Katie is saying something it's being said to Slade, or Slade says something and it's being said to Katie. Then Katie says something, it's being said to Slade. And then Slade says something, it's being said to Katie. And then it's Slade like 2 more times, continuing the conversation. So this isn't exactly telling the story that Matt is putting out there, because Katie's as much intertwined into this as Slade. Then we see a comment from Slade from March 2nd, not 9th, where he says, insane, thank you, I'll try calling in a bit. And then we see a blurred out message from March 9th. Like, why is that blurred if this is the receipt, right? What is Matt saying? And then it says, spoke to Katie, try me back. And that's on, I guess, March 9th. So that's all we see in this receipt. And then we see this weird thing where there's a screenshot of Tamra. Look at that, right underneath something on March 9th. And it's like a hot pink thing. I'm pretty sure that matches this, which is Tamra Judge. It was a long run. When life gives you real problems, this reality shit doesn't make sense. Peace out, I'm out. Her quitting post. And that was on March 9th. So what's strange to me is it doesn't appear that those text messages that we're seeing have anything to do with this whole thing about whether or not, Katie heard Slade and Gretchen talk about, Tamra drugging people. It looks more like it had to do with Tamra quitting the show. And then we see this, like, this proves something. It says, Katie finally fought back. Gretchen and Katie stayed aligned. There's literally no context to this message whatsoever. It's just like out in the middle of nowhere in space. And we don't even know what Katie's fighting back about. So this is, again, making me think this is manufactured drama, you guys. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Based on Matt Ginella jumping up and down and doing the press tour he's doing, he should have broke out messages that clearly showed him having a conversation with Slade about Gretchen telling a story about roofing. That didn't happen. This is bullshit.
You told me in New Orleans you went to the hospital, so which one is it?
The next day I spoke to the hospital.
That's not what happened. I did not go to the hospital. I remember saying that I was so sick that night that I probably should have gone to the hospital, but that was like the extent of it. Did you?
See, the next day, yes, I went to the hospital, but you can't really hear what Gretchen says. And then we only hear from Shannon and Tamra after what they heard, which is what's written here. But I mean, can you really believe it? You can't hear it yourself in this scene. To me, it sounds like she says, I spoke to the hospital. So Tamra and Gretchen go away on the beach at Jennifer's beach party, which is one of the things. She takes Slade's ex-girlfriend, Jo, to that too. This is the second event. Tamra pretends like she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, but of course, we all know she does. Anyway, they go to this side. And Tamra's like, look, if you keep going to the past, we're never going to be able to go forward because we both have so much awful shit, about each other. And Gretchen, I think, gets to Tamra on 2 counts. One is that Slade couldn't get a job because allegedly Tamra called him a deadbeat dad in the press. And this was before 2Ts, although she did it there too. It was before that. And so basically Gretchen's like, of course he couldn't do what he had to do at that time because you wouldn't let him get a job because of the press that you put out that he was a deadbeat dad. I'm not buying what she's selling, but that's what she said. And that seemed to make Tamra go, okay, let's make up, but let's only socialize like friends. Let's not go deep and let's just look forward. I can't do the past thing anymore. And so Gretchen agrees and they skip literally to the table, which is very cheesy. All right, you guys, this was a long one. I'm wrecked. I'm out of here. Like and subscribe and use the time codes.